you can trust your parent advocate if you feel like you can't trust anyone else.
A parent attorney works with parents who have children in the court system, and ultimately they serve three fundamental functions. First of all, a parent attorney counsels a parent, helps the parent to understand all of the intricacies of the legal process, what the terms mean, what the objectives mean, what the parent ultimately can do for themselves, what their rights are as parents, and how to advance those rights, and ultimately to set an objective. Your attorney works for you, and as a counselor, through that process of getting to know you, understand you and your situation, you're going to come up with a plan as to what that objective is for you as a parent and how the attorney's going to help make it happen. The second role connects directly with that, which is how, once you've set the objectives, how the attorney is going to help represent you in the court proceeding as your court representative, whether or not you should testify, how to address witnesses, evidence, potentially adverse evidence against you. Your attorney is a professional and dealing with the court and working with the judge to build a record that's favorable to you. Thirdly, they're your advocate. So if in between court hearings you feel as though you want to move your case forward through motion, or you want someone to be with you, as you probably should, at a CWF meeting, a family service meeting, they're there to go with you, to advocate for you, to make sure that you're not alone in the process and that someone's there to speak for you and make your point clear.
It's very important to keep in contact with your attorney because they are your voice in this whole situation. You can have thoughts and feelings and, things that you want to express, but it's their job to express that for you and go for what's best for you and your children.
Some of your rights as a parent when your children are in CWF placement is, first of all, the right to visit. You have a fundamental right to visit with your children. And the level of visits and the amount of structure that's placed on those visits, the limitation that's placed on those visits is something that you have to work out with the court. Your attorney is there to help make your case as to why you should have the least restrictive visits possible. You have the right to participate actively in the decisions as far as the placement of your children, that your relatives have a first in line position in terms of being considered for placement, and the agency has an obligation to investigate them before moving to stranger foster care. So it's important to get your relatives who you think would be appropriate possible placements involved in the process. You have a right to continue to participate in the medical and educational decision making for your child unless the court has very explicitly said otherwise. You should be at medical appointments, you should be being consulted as far as consents are concerned. You should be front and center in that process even if they're not still in your physical custody. Your rights remain intact until the court says otherwise. So it's important for you to continue to be involved. It's easy as parents to get lost in the background of a court proceeding, and again, that's why parent attorneys are such an important part of this process, to make sure you don't get forgotten about. You also have the right to be at and have adequate and fair notice of permanency hearings and also family planning sessions with your caseworker, where they're ultimately going to set up what the goals and objectives are that is being placed on you and everybody else in terms of what it's going to take to reunify your family. And you absolutely have the right to be there. And also, once the agency has set forth what those objectives and goals are, the agency has to help you and provide reasonable efforts, unless the court says otherwise for good reason, to assist you in achieving your goals. The more involved you are and the more active you are, then the more likely you are to get the services that you are by law entitled to.
I call my attorney weekly. In fact, I probably was a pest. She never acted like it. A couple times we got to a disagreement, but I needed to vent. I needed to get it off my chest. She allowed me to do it. And at the same point, she did so and let me know how the procedure, and she used the information. I mean, everything I told her, she was able to bring into court in my favor. So it helped my case a lot.
things that would have made it a less overwhelming experience for me would have been if I would have been more prepared for court.
Case planning is the process of the parent and the family coming together to make a plan. They come together with the agency to make a plan for resolving the issues that brought them to the attention of the agency. Usually, case planning is really focused on child safety. What are the issues that are making the child unsafe in mom or dad's house, and how do we resolve them?
If a family needs to be accepted for services, we will be explaining to the family what that process looks like in developing a family service plan to help the child remain safely in their home.
Family group decision-making is an opportunity for families to enjoy a process where they receive help from a facilitator to talk about their issues and problems and strengths and concerns for their family. And then during that process, they have the opportunity to meet privately without the providers to decide for themselves how they can support each other and help raise their family and children.
It's really important that parents understand that the case plan is part of the court proceeding. The judge will usually receive the case plan as evidence, and then at every hearing the judge will be asking the agency and you, what progress has mom or dad made in meeting the goals on the case plan?
It is so important that we hear your voice and know your choice in decision making. Not only is it the law, but it is best practice that we encourage you to invite those that know your family best to help and support you in developing your goals that will assist you in safely raising your children.
The caseworker helps the parent accomplish their goals by meeting with the families initially and identifying what their issues, problems, or concerns are. We have a meeting with the parents and the children. The agency is involved.
Anyone who a family identifies as a support or a connection to them, they are able to be a part of the case planning process. It's important for families to feel supported and like they have a team available to help them with achieving their goals.
I became aware that I couldn't navigate this on my own. I had to be humble enough to ask and reach out to people who I knew. If I was proud and if I was thinking I could do it myself, I'm not sure my children would have been returned.
A caseworker will help the parents accomplish their goals by making referrals, assisting in them contacting a provider, such as if there needs to be a drug and alcohol evaluation, the caseworker can help contact a drug and alcohol provider and help set up an intake appointment. They can refer them to other agencies, provide them with resources.
A caseworker absolutely will be held accountable if a parent is not meeting their goals, okay? That's the whole point of goal planning. My name is on that sheet just as well as the parent's name, the outside agency's name, the child's name. The parent has a goal, the caseworker has a goal.
When this first started, I did feel a little bit intimidated by my CYF caseworker. I did see her as some kind of enemy, but once I realized that she was there for a reason, I had to own up to everything that I did. It's not like I was being a great mom one day and they just walked in and got involved. So I had to see the part that I played in it.
What I tell parents is work with me, let's solve the problem. If you don't work with me and you resist me, you not open the door, not answer my phone call, this could lead to court. And you don't want to go to court because once it's in court, it's out of my hands. It's out of your hands. It's up to the master or the judge.
Going through this process and seeing the person that I'm becoming and the growing that I'm doing makes me realize that everybody was not out to get me. And end result, I'm a much better parent.
When you're in your case plan meeting, this is the time to ask for the help that you need. So if the agency is giving you a goal, it's really important that you tell the agency, I'm going to need help with that goal. So for instance, if the agency is having you do visits as one of your goals, which is an incredibly important goal, you can ask the agency for help with transportation or help setting up a visit at a time that doesn't conflict with your work schedule. It's just incredibly important that you use the case planning process as an opportunity to say what you need help with to get your goals accomplished.
My caseworker helped me meet the goals by well, first I had to communicate with her. I had to tell her, like, I'm struggling here, or I feel like this isn't going the way that I would like it to. And the more I communicated with her, the more research she would do for me, or she'd find different workshops or things for me to read. She had a lot of information.
As a parent involved in a dependency proceeding, you're going to get a lot of documents, and it can be really confusing to identify what document is what. One document you'll get is your case plan, and sometimes that has different names. It may be called a single case plan, it may be called a family service plan, and you should be familiar with what your county uses as their term. Another document you will have is your child permanency plan. Another document you may have is your court order, and actually you should make sure that you have all your court orders in one place and that you know what they say. And a final document you may see is a safety plan, and that's a plan that you're making with the agency to keep your child safe. The documents that are going to come up most in court are the court order and your case plan.
Ask questions. If there's something that you read in your case plan, if you don't understand it, you call your CYF caseworker, call your parent advocate. Make sure that you understand everything that's going on.
I didn't understand everything in my court order. The wording was unfamiliar to me, so I contacted my lawyer about any questions that I had.
Ultimately, if you don't understand something about your case, if you don't understand the objectives that have been set for you or why a particular objective has been set for you, ask and make sure you have that conversation. Because if you don't understand it, then there's no real way you're going to be likely to achieve it.
It's really important to keep track of your progress on meeting your goals. So you're going to be given a long list of goals to accomplish, and at every hearing the judge is going to be reviewing how did you do in accomplishing those goals. At that point, it becomes so critical that you're getting the documentation of your completion of your programs. So you need to make sure that you have evidence that you've done whatever goals the judge has asked you to do. So that's where the magic folder comes in. I love it when my clients come to court with this folder of all the documents that are evidence to show to the judge what they've done to meet their case plan goals. So if you have a parenting class, make sure at the conclusion of that class that you get your certificate. That certificate is going to need to be shown to the judge. If you have a drug and alcohol treatment program, make sure you get your certificate from your program or a letter from your treatment provider saying that yes, mom or dad has been going to their treatment program. That folder of documents is so critical when you go to court because the judge is not going to want to just hear testimony that you're doing these things. He or she is going to want to see hard evidence that you're doing them.
Nobody knows you better than you know yourself. When I was working on my case plan with my CYF caseworker, I let her know my strengths, my weaknesses, how I wanted to see me and my son's situation play out, but most importantly, what was best for him.